right. Thank you so much for downloading today's episode of the Red Pill Investor. My name's Karl Krentzel, your host here today, here to help you with your real estate sales skills. Why? Well, it's just sort of my way to pay it forward for all the people who've given me the tips, the tricks, the things to say to get the contract signed when I needed it the most. Their only request of me, well, simply pay it forward, and this is my opportunity to you. Thank you so much for downloading today's episode of the Red Pill Investor. I'll do my very best to go and give you some content today that I think will help you, and today I am super excited to share with you an interview that I had today with a blast from my past. Today's interview is with Karen Bernardi. And if you don't know Karen, you should. You really got to get to know Karen, because Karen is a phenomenal agent out in Boulder, Colorado. And not only because she is a phenomenal agent, but she's just a phenomenal human being. And I got to be honest with you, the reason why I wanted to bring her to the show today was because she personally has inspired me over my life. You know, I had originally met her when I had been trained when I was in the Mike Ferry events, and you know, her story was always just so compelling to me. And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and her name came up, and I thought, you know what? You guys need to hear from Karen. And she so graciously allowed 15 minutes out of her schedule. She is a very busy lady. She sells a couple hundred homes a year. I was shocked to see that we could get that much time. So honestly, any amount of time that she shares with us is phenomenal. So without any further ado, I'm going to share with you my 15-minute interview with Karen Bernardi. You'll definitely want to grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, and take some powerful notes, because she has got some ideas for you that are going to help you explode your business. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Karen Bernardi. All right, Red Pill Investors, thank you so much for joining me today on today's powerful podcast. Today, I've got a special guest that I'd like to share with you, a good friend of mine from the past, Karen Bernardi. Karen, are you there?
I'm here.
Karen, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. I know that you're very busy, so I'll just jump right into the interview if it's okay with you. Is that all right?
That would be great. I think most people are pretty busy, so let's focus on what we can do to help everyone. How's that?
Good deal. I appreciate it very much. Okay, well, listen, the reason why I wanted to talk with you, just to kind of get the elephant out of the room, so to speak, is you and I were both trained by the Mike Ferry organization, which I personally think is one of the greatest organizations of all time. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I'm able to sell a lot of real estate.
Absolutely.
I suppose if you want to do yoga, it doesn't really work out. If you're looking for, a diet and calories club, that wouldn't work. But if you are looking to make a lot of money and be a highly profitable, effective real estate agent, it's the only place to be.
I agree. I certainly agree with you. So before we get too far into it, do you have a particular quote that you like to tell yourself to kind of get your day started, or tell yourself when things are going down, something that you could maybe kick the call off with?
Yeah, probably kind of corny. I wake up in the morning and I say to myself, I am healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I also say, oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I say that in the morning to myself.
I love it.
And but as far as the most powerful quote that I actually live by, it would be, to thine own self be true.
I like it.
Because everyone's definition of success is different, and what they want out of life. You know, if you're a stay-at-home mom or dad, your definition of success is going to look a little different than mine. But, they're both success. So you have to be true to yourself and what your goals and what you want to accomplish in your life are.
Karen, that is powerful. I really appreciate you telling me that. That's absolutely true. And, I wonder, about how long have you been involved in real estate? I knew you from my Mike Ferry days way back in the day, but about how long have you been involved in real estate as a realtor? And I imagine you do some investing on your own as well, yes?
Sure.
Okay.
Of course, that's where 90% of my wealth and retirement income is in real estate.
Okay, cool. About how long have you been involved in real estate?
30 years.
30 years. Holy cow. Wow.
Holy cow.
You don't even look that old. What'd you do? Start when you were 5?
You are not sitting in front of you, so there you go.
No problem.
Money helps with how old you look.
Yeah, I hear you. So how did you get involved in real estate, if you don't mind sharing that story?
Oh no, well, I was I don't have a formal education, if you will.
Okay.
So my education has come from people like Mike Ferry
Mm-hmm.
and my own reading and exploring and training myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a waitress and a single mom. I was really poor, and there weren't that many professions you can get into without a formal education that you can make a lot of money, and certainly without a great deal of capital. I certainly don't have any tech skills. So, boy, was I lucky that someone said you should become a real estate agent.
Wow. And I think about that, and 30 years ago, I mean, I'm certainly uh, just guessing, but I imagine it was a lot different times. I mean, I hear women say that the times then were much different for women when they were starting out trying to be professional by themselves and things like that. Is that probably accurate to say?
Well, for me, I've never felt that any, as far as the difference between being a woman and a man, I don't know. I've only been a woman.
Oh,
But
sure.
I never felt really discrimination in that way, and I always actually felt like it was an advantage to be a woman in real estate. In that, we understood houses. A lot of times, it is the woman that's making the decision on houses, and
Hmm.
I think I probably felt the same challenges as everyone else did 30 years ago, and women do today.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know if it would really be that much different.
Well, I'll tell you, you certainly inspired me, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show, was because you personally inspired me from, I remember all the things that I've talked about in the past with my friends and Kurt Stinson, who's been on the show and whatnot. And one of the things I know, for someone who's like you, who does a lot of business, I'm curious, what would you suppose is the biggest challenge that maybe you faced last year professionally? And then maybe you can give us a tidbit on how you kind of overcame that, because I know it can't clearly be a rise straight up to the top.
And you're talking about my biggest challenge last year. I mean, I've been doing this 30 years.
Yeah,
I'll answer a couple of questions in
sure.
this one, which was, how did I get into real estate? And you mentioned I've seen, the market was different. Well, over 30 years, I've seen a lot of different markets,
Hmm.
and I've had a lot of different challenges.
Hmm.
And I think one of the greatest challenges is to understand that it's not only a marathon. I mean, I'm a runner. It's not only a marathon. I mean, this is an endurance race. This is a run that's going to take a while.
Hmm.
And I think life is. And so I've had a lot of challenges, in my career. And so this current market we're in is just another kind of challenge where their inventory is more scarce and more people are in the business. I think the National Association of Realtors probably almost doubled again after it shrank in half. So we just have a different set of challenges now that we had. As far as, my biggest challenge last year, my husband has Parkinson's disease, and he had 4 brain surgeries.
Oh my
So
God, I didn't know. I'm sorry.
yeah, life is full of challenges. And so he was fortunate enough to get good health care, and it really has made a big difference in his life and his recovery, or his symptoms from Parkinson's disease. But that was stressful for both of us. And to remain focused on customer service and my business through times like that. I'm sure that many of your listeners face professional and personal problems, and to maintain focus is probably how I overcame it. And what they need to do to overcome it is to compartmentalize problems that are happening in, my personal life or their personal life, so that you compartmentalize that, and you say,
Hmm.
my customers really don't care that my husband, I don't want to say they don't care that my
Right.
husband's having brain surgery, but it's not their concern.
Right, of course.
And so I don't mention that. to them. They don't care. My employees really, it's not their major concern. Their major concern is that I'm going to get, good customer service so that they can get being paid. And,
Right.
And it's helpful in a way, if you think about it.
Right. It's the work
Because,
itself
I
is
don't
its.
need to sit around and think about my problems. I need to serve someone else.
Yeah, work itself is its own therapy many times it seems. So
Isn't it?
yeah, wow.
So,
I appreciate you sharing that with me, and then I can appreciate how difficult that health challenge can be when it's in a loved one, and I'm very sorry to hear that. I guess to keep respectful of your time, what would you suppose has been your biggest achievement thus far? This 30 years you've sold, I don't even know. Would you give our listeners a rough idea of about how many homes you're selling nowadays?
right now I'm selling maybe 150,
Okay.
about 150 a year.
So you decided to scale back a little, did you?
Well, I have. There have been years, through the 30 years, I sold 500.
I know. You are a machine.
Well, I try to treat him the same, but yeah, I get it. Thank you.
That's why I
Well,
love
it's
you.
interesting. You asked what was my biggest achievement.
Yeah.
And so, I guess, just staying in it.
Uh-huh.
Being honest, being, part of the profession for all these years, not quitting.
Mm-hmm.
When things got really tough, those are, big achievements. I think that's probably it. The money's been really good,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that I kept it in check.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a lot of people really go wild,
Mm.
and I
Yeah.
think that probably trying to keep, my living within my means.
Mm-hmm.
And I never lived quite up to my means, so or certainly beyond. And so I think that's probably a really big achievement. That I never felt a need to impress anybody but myself.
I think that you're absolutely on point there. I think that is a lesson that I know I certainly could have learned early on in my career, because I was certainly one of those guys, who made those kind of mistakes and made a lot of money and did a lot of dumb things, spent it too quick, things like that. So I think you're absolutely right that you.
It's only money.
Well,
you know what? You can always make more money. You can't make more time.
Ooh. Well,
So don't spend
good
your
point.
time regretting the money you lost.
Good
Just
point.
Make more money, because that's easy.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is certainly true. And I'll tell you, all the times that I remember seeing you at the Mike Ferry events and the Tuscany trips and things that you've done, you've had a magnificent life, and you've worked very hard for that. So, assuming finally, just to kind of close, what's that?
Nice to acknowledge that. Thank
Oh,
you.
well, yes, ma'am. I recognize the fact that you did not get what you got by just sitting on your ass. Mike himself would say, I think you would agree. Mike would say that he gave you he had the easy part. He told you what to do, but you took the hard work of actually making it and getting it done. So,
I want to say I think he's being rather humble when he says that, because
I
no
agree.
one works harder than Mike Ferry.
No, I agree.
No one I have ever met has worked harder than Mike Ferry.
When
Wow.
when I think about my time with Mike, he is a guy that I think I would love to have on the show, but I know he would never show up. And the reality is, because he has so much to offer, I think, the real estate community at large. And just to get back to focusing on our interview and closing it up, because I know you got to go. Assuming that you had to start all over again. I mean, if you just were going to pick it up and do it all over again, what would you say were the 3 steps that you would take to start today?
Learn to delegate very early and quickly in any endeavor that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out what you're really good at and delegate the rest.
Okay.
The second would always be to develop a really good work ethic and schedule and stick with it.
Good. I love that one.
And the third thing would be to buy real estate and hold on to it. Don't get into this flip, flip, flip. I'm going to make money. I'm going to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Flip, flip, flip. I'm going to make money, because what are you going to make? $20,000 or $30,000 or
Mm-hmm.
50 or 100? If you hold that real estate and consider it a long-term investment,
Mm-hmm.
you'll make more money.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. You definitely got to get out of this mentality where you're certainly going to just flip the rest of your life. You definitely got to hold on to it for sure. So,
well, you know what? That's interesting because, and I just have to say that's for me.
please.
You know what I mean? I don't. You ask me what I would do. I think for certain people that might really work. If you ask me, if I had to start all over again, I would say I would never sell any real estate I ever bought.
I think we'd all have a big amen on that side for sure.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Karen, you have been very generous with your time. I am so grateful to you for sharing. Where do you suppose any of our listeners, we've got listeners from all around the country, if they've got a real estate referral that they want to send to you in Denver, Colorado, or anywhere in that area, because I know you got folks who can help them throughout that area.
Boulder,
I'm sorry. What I'm thinking, Denver.
Oh, not
Boulder.
a worry.
I'm sorry. No,
from
it's
Boulder to Denver. Don't worry.
Yeah,
don't worry.
no.
Boulder, Colorado. It is one of the most beautiful cities you will ever see in the world, and I have traveled the world.
I know you have.
It's a gorgeous place to live, and it's a good place to invest. So,
Well,
anyway, Boulder,
where-
Colorado. And I do work the surrounding area.
Yeah, I was going to
So
say,
it's
where
easy.
could they get a hold of you? Because you are, in my opinion, the hands-down top choice agent for anybody going to Colorado at all. And if they had a referral for anybody in that area, where could they contact you? Do you got a website they could reach you at?
Yeah,
A
you
phone?
can
What
go
would
to
you like them to
Karen
do?
Bernardi at just Google Karen Bernardi, and you'll get
I'll
us
have
at
show
Karen
links with
Bernardi.
that. Your name and
that's
everything.
Easy.
Okay.
And then if you want to call my office, anybody wants to call the office, it's 303-402-6000. 303-402-6000. BernardiRealEstate.com. You'll get Karen Bernardi.
Awesome. Karen, thank you very, very much. You have been
thank
such a
you.
such a great lady and I got to tell you, a big inspiration to me, to Kurt Stinson, to a lot of the people on the podcast whom I've talked to you about before. I've mentioned you by first name only, but I thought it would be nice to take an opportunity to introduce you personally because you are just a big inspiration to me personally. So,
Well, you know what? Don't be shy. Mention my last name too all the time.
I
love
will.
that
I
mention.
certainly will now. No problem. Now that I have your
Okay.
permission. All right. Well, Karen, you have a powerful sales day. Thank you very much. Okay.
All right. God bless. Thank
All right.
you and all your listeners. Thanks,
You take
everybody.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Red Pill investors. Thank you so much for joining me today. You have a powerful sales day. Bye-bye.